In the world of golf, calm is a weapon, and arrogance a sentence. From players who provoke the wrong legends, to fans who learn the hard way that in this sport respect is everything. Today you'll discover how karma in golf doesn't just strike. Sometimes it does so with surgical precision. Get ready for the most striking moments where the game responded with a lesson no one would ever forget. Because on the green, words don't fly, they roll. When the fan wanted to be a caddy. It was the final round of the 2015 Travelers Championship. Bubba Watson was facing a tricky par 4 at TPC River Highlands. His drive had flown too far right, burying itself near the trees. The situation was technical, delicate. Only a masterful shot could save him. As Bubba analyzed the shot, the silence was broken by a voice in the crowd. A spectator, speaking with the confidence of someone who thinks they know everything, shouted, "Hit a punch with the 4-iron!" It was the typical unsolicited advice, thrown out as if it were a tip from a tour veteran. Watson didn't even look up. Without saying a word, he leaned over his bag and pulled out a wedge. What happened next was pure magic. A smooth swing, a high and precise flight, the ball floated over the treetops and landed softly barely 1.2 meters from the flag. Birdie guaranteed. But Bubba didn't stop there. As the crowd erupted in applause, he turned his head toward the fan and delivered a phrase that stuck like a dart. "That's why you're on that side of the ropes." Silence. No shouting, no drama. Just an elegant reminder that in golf, talking too much can turn you into the star of your own public lesson. And this is just the beginning. Hashon 4, the roar that awoke the rival. What happens when you think you've delivered the final blow, only to watch your opponent rise and hit back twice as hard? Sunday singles at the 2016 Ryder Cup. Every shot is a punch to the chin, every putt an exchange of defiant stares. The atmosphere, electric. On the 8th hole, Rory faces a nearly impossible putt. 18 meters of pure tension. The crowd holds its breath. Swing. The ball rolls, and rolls, and drops. A monumental birdie. Rory, unleashed, turns to the fans, puts his hands to his ears, and shouts in rage, "I can't hear you." But the hole isn't over. Patrick Reed, calm as a sniper, stands over a putt just as long, just as crucial. Silence fills the air. Reed strikes, the ball tracks steady, and when it seems impossible, bam, center of the cup. The tension explodes. Reed pumps his fist, points at Rory, and shakes it with such intensity that the Ryder Cup turns into a boxing ring. The crowd loses its mind. Rory, who seconds earlier was the master of ceremonies, is suddenly reduced to a spectator in his own show. Patrick Reed didn't just win the hole, he won the psychological battle. Because in golf, celebrating too early is tempting fate. And when karma responds, it does so at a volume you can't ignore. And so, at Hazeltine, we learned that in golf, the last shot always speaks the loudest. 13. Augusta doesn't forgive arrogance. Augusta Nacional. A temple of golf. A course that has humbled legends and crowned immortals. But in 2021, one player believed he had decoded it and paid the price. Bryson DeChambeau arrived at the Masters in full physical transformation. Stronger, faster, more confident than ever. With every colossal drive, it seemed he had turned golf into a video game. And in a press conference, he dropped the phrase that set the golf world on fire. "For me, Augusta is a par 67. I can reach all the par 5 seconds in 2 shots without a problem." The statement sounded like heresy, redefining Augusta's par, as if the sport's most sacred course were a pitch and putt for muscle-bound giants. Purists trembled, fans split. And Augusta, as always, listened in silence. When it came time to prove it, the course responded with brutality. Bryson not only failed to post his coveted 67, he got tangled in bogeys, roughs, and treacherous greens. Result: 76, 75, missed cut, and a trip home before the weekend. But karma didn't end there. The following year, with the same physique and the same confidence, DeChambeau returned, and Augusta devoured him again without mercy. Another missed cut, Another painful lesson. At Augusta, it doesn't matter how much muscle you carry. The course always has the final word, hash on two. The roar that faded too soon. The 2022 President's Cup gave us a rising star and an unforgettable lesson about the cost of celebrating too early. At just 20 years old, Tom Kim didn't just play golf, he lived it. Every putt was a show, every green a dance floor. He ran, pumped his fists, and shouted with the intensity of a rock concert. Fans were hypnotized. Saturday afternoon, the tension was almost unbearable. The stroke was clean, the ball rolled and dropped. The reaction was pure electricity. Tom ripped off his cap, sprinted across the green as if he had just won the entire cup, and leapt into the arms of his teammates. The scene was unforgettable. A young man conquering the world. Or so it seemed. But golf has memory and patience. Sunday, singles match, this time against Max Homa. The script felt familiar. Maximum pressure, the 18th hole, an epic ending in sight. But not every hero gets an encore. Homa, steady as stone, buried a deadly par on 18. No shouting, no theatrical gestures. Just a closed fist and a silence that said more than 1,000 words. Tom Kim, who the day before had set the President's Cup on fire, now watched his flame go out. Because in golf, if you celebrate too soon, karma might invite someone else to close the show for you. Number 11. Playing with fire. Twice, there are cautious players, and then there's Phil Mickelson, a man who never met a risky shot he didn't want to try. And at the 2014 Barclays Championship, he turned the hole into his own personal playground. Ridgewood Country Club, hole 5, par 4. In the second round, Phil unleashes a massive drive, so massive it ends up directly inside a hospitality tent. Most players would have taken the penalty and looked for a safe bailout. But Mickelson is not most players. Unfazed, he walks into the tent, finds a small patch of artificial turf, and with total composure hits from there. The result, a flawless shot that gets him back into play, and after a masterful scramble, he saves par. The crowd goes wild. A classic moment of Phil being Phil. But karma is patient. Third round, same hole, same target, same outcome. The ball, again, flies straight into the tent. 2 days in a row. Learn the lesson, not Mickelson style. Once again, he steps into the tent, surveys the scene, and this time faces an even tougher shot. He needs to float the ball over the edge of the structure, avoid spectators, and land it softly. And as if by magic, he does it again. Nearly makes birdie. Another saved par. Another ovation. But even the boldest players can't tempt fate forever. In golf, when you spin the roulette wheel one more time, sooner or later, the zero shows up. Momenta son cero, when you wake the giant. In golf, there are technical mistakes. And then there are the mistakes you make with your mouth. In 2006, Stephen Ames learned this lesson in the harshest possible way. WGC Accenture Match Play. Ames was preparing to face an opponent who needed no introduction, Tiger Woods. Most players, facing such a challenge, choose caution. They talk about playing their best golf or sticking to the plan. But Ames chose another path. In a pre-match interview, he dropped a comment that echoed through the tournament halls. Anything can happen, especially with how he's hitting it off the tee. He implied Tiger was vulnerable, that his driving was inconsistent. Basically, he poked the bear. Tiger heard it, but didn't respond. At least, not with words. The next day, the course became a demolition site. Woods crushed Ames with contained fury, 9-8, one of the most dominant results in match play history. The duel ended so quickly that some fans were still ordering their coffee when Ames was already packing his bags. Afterward, Tiger was asked about the result. With icy calm, he replied, "I think he said something like, 'Anything can happen,' and it did. That wasn't just karma. That was karma with a 300-yard drive, a lethal wedge, and the stare of a killer." #9. When trophies speak louder than muscles. Early 2019, the rivalry between Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka had begun heating up slowly, until one comment turned it into a blaze. Koepka had just posed for the cover of the ESPN Body Issue, showing off an athletic and defined physique that sparked discussion across the circuit. In a Twitch livestream, Bryson, known for his obsession with science and muscle, dropped a comment like someone tossing a stone into a lake. "I don't see any abs on Brooks." It was a subtle jab, almost disguised as a joke, but full of intent. For DeChambeau, who was building his identity as golf scientific athlete, it was a small dig that quickly became personal. But here's the thing, Brooks' Koepka doesn't respond with hints. Hours later, Koepka posted a tweet that went viral within minutes. A photo of his 4 major trophies lined up like golden soldiers with the caption, "You're right, I'm missing abs." No yelling, no arguing. Just a cold reminder. While Bryson was flexing in the gym, Brooks was stacking majors like protein bars. Moment number 8. The day karma took the microphone. Ryder Cup 2016. Hazeltine. The European team is trying to focus on the greens during the practice round, but there's a problem. In the crowd, a fan named David Johnson from North Dakota refuses to go unnoticed. His loud, persistent voice cuts through the air. Criticism, mockery, unsolicited advice. Henrik Stenson, normally unflappable, begins to lose patience. Until finally, he turns around and throws out a challenge that freezes the entire crowd. "All right, if you think it's so easy, come here and make the putt. I'll give you $100 if you do." Boom. The challenge is on the table. Johnson, wearing jeans and sneakers as if he'd just left a barbecue, smiles. Without hesitation, he hops the rope and steps onto the green as if he were a pro. The crowd holds its breath. The players watch, some with uneasy smiles. Johnson sets up, takes the borrowed putter, lines up the stroke, and with a surprisingly confident swing, sends the ball rolling straight into the heart of the hole. Dead center. The crowd erupts in a deafening roar. The pros are left stunned. Johnson raises his arms in victory, as if he had just won the Ryder Cup single-handedly. True to his word, Stenson laughs, pulls out his wallet, and hands over the $100 to a thunderous ovation. Sometimes karma doesn't humiliate you. It gives you the chance to back up your words. And when you do, the entire golf world applauds. Number 7. The weight of calling yourself a legend. March 2014. WGC Cadillac Championship. Patrick Reed, at just 23 years old, has just achieved the biggest victory of his career. His confidence is sky high. His expression says it all. He feels untouchable. In the post-tournament press conference, Reed decides to immortalize the moment, not with a trophy, but with a sentence. "I sincerely believe I'm one of the top 5 players in the world." At that moment, the young player was ranked number 20. No wink, no smile, no humility, just a cold, direct, almost defiant declaration. The reaction was immediate. The media tore him apart, analysts mocked him, and fans nicknamed him Top 5 Reed every time he missed a shot. And worst of all, the mistakes started coming. His results dropped, victories disappeared, and the narrative changed forever. Even when he won again, people didn't talk about his golf. They talked about his ego. In golf, calling yourself a legend too soon isn't just risky. It's an invitation for karma to show you who really rules the green. Number 6. When karma waits on the tee box. August 2020. PGA Championship. TPC Harding Park. The press wants headlines, and Koepka doesn't disappoint. "I like my chances." And as if that weren't enough, he adds with a shrug, "When I've been in this position before, I've capitalized." Then, a sentence that landed like a driver's strike. He's only won one. In an instant, Koepka minimized one of the most respected talents in golf, as if DJ were just an amateur at the local club. But golf listens. And on Sunday, he decided to speak. Koepka collapsed with a 74+4, the second worst round of the day. He missed fairways, misread putts, and watched the leaderboard swallow him whole. Meanwhile, Dustin Johnson played with the calm of a Zen master, closing with authority to take the title. When the final putt dropped, DJ was champion, and Koepka was a distant T29. a ghost on the leaderboard. Because in golf, when you climb onto a pedestal, make sure it's anchored. Karma doesn't need to push you. All it takes is for you to sleep on your own. Number 5. The Whisper of Karma, 2005 Indonesian Open. Colin Montgomery battles humidity and wind on a day threatened by storms at Cengkareng Golf Club. On the 14th hole, he prepares to hit his third shot when the horn sounds "play suspended due to weather." When play resumes, Monty returns to the spot, but his ball has disappeared, presumably washed away by the rain. With no officials inside, he places a new ball in a more favorable position. Better angle, better stance, better chance. No one questions the decision. Montgomery continues, finishes tied for second, and takes home a hefty check. But golf doesn't forget. Days later, footage clearly shows the drop was far too generous. No penalty, no disqualification, just an uncomfortable silence. However, the murmurs among players and fans grew until they became an outcry. Montgomery, feeling the weight of the controversy, made a surprising decision. He donated all his tournament earnings to charity. Because in golf, karma doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers and nudges you to be better than you were. Number 4. The trophy he always claimed was his. Phil Mickelson. A man with a legendary resume, brilliant game, and the devotion of millions of fans. But also a player haunted by a ghost, the US Open. For years, Phil proclaimed it as his destiny. It's only a matter of time. I know the US Open will be mine. But golf doesn't understand written destinies. 1999. 2004. Finishes 2 shots short at Shinnecock Hills. 2006. Arrives at the 18th hole in the lead. And in an instant, everything falls apart. A wild drive, a failed recovery attempt, a devastating double bogey. On camera, with a shattered expression, Mickelson mutters, "I'm such an idiot." And still, he kept believing, kept declaring that the US Open was coming his way. But year after year, course after course, Winged Foot, Marion, Bethpage, the story repeated itself with almost poetic cruelty. He won everything else. Masters, PGA, the Open. But every time he claimed the US Open was his, the game seemed to whisper, "Not you, not this time." Because in golf, no matter how much you want it, some trophies can't be forced. Number 3. Justice on the Green. PGA Championship 2024. Valhalla. Final round. Amid the tension of a decisive Sunday, Bryson DeChambeau takes a moment to connect with the crowd. As he walks toward the 10th tee, he spots a young fan behind the ropes, staring at him. Without thinking twice, Bryson gently tosses his ball toward the kid as a gesture of appreciation. But then the unexpected happens. An adult, with a VIP pass hanging from his neck, lunges in and snatches the ball midair. No shame, no hesitation, he keeps it as if it were his. Bryson stops dead. He raises his club like a teacher scolding a student and, with a firm voice that cuts through the murmuring crowd, exclaims, "Hey, hey, give the kid the ball back." The crowd turns. Cameras catch every second. The man, frozen, feels the weight of thousands of eyes. Awkwardly, with a clumsy gesture, he returns the ball to the boy to a thunderous round of applause. In golf, rules aren't the only thing that matters. There's something deeper. Respect. And if you try to steal a moment from a child, karma will make sure the whole world watches you give it back. Number 2. When anger takes you off the course. 2019. Saudi International. His shots can't find the fairway, his putts refuse to fall, and frustration begins to boil. But instead of containing himself and fighting like a veteran, Garcia explodes. What follows is a display as shocking as it is embarrassing. Putter strikes on the greens, stomps that damage the surfaces. 5 incidents in total. Players whisper. Greenskeepers watch in disbelief. The rumor spreads across the course like wildfire. And then, karma acts with surgical speed. Tournament officials don't wait. Under Rule 1. 2. A serious misconduct. They disqualify Sergio mid-tournament. Gone. No second chance. The statement is clear. Disrespect for the course and the integrity of the game. Obligated. Garcia issues a public apology. I crossed the line. I promise it won't happen again. In golf, anger doesn't win tournaments. But it can certainly make you lose them, along with something even more valuable: the respect of an entire sport. Number 1. When you challenge the king, and the king responds. 2007. Rory Sabatini is at the peak of his confidence. He's been playing brilliant golf for weeks, and during a press conference, he decides to raise the tension with an incendiary declaration. I think Tiger Woods is more beatable than ever. A phrase that wasn't just bold, it was practically a declaration of war. Most players spoke of Tiger with reverence, almost fear. But Sabatini seemed convinced that Woods' era was coming to an end. Spoiler: it wasn't. Weeks later, in the same tournament, on the same course, and with both at the top of the leaderboard, Tiger decided to respond in his own way. Instead of words, he let the scorecard speak. Woods didn't just beat Sabatini, he crushed him by 11 strokes, a display of dominance without gestures or declarations. Tiger, calm, walked off the green like the king he had always been, leaving Rory swallowing his words. Because in golf, if you try to take down a giant, you'd better hope he doesn't wake up. If he does, karma will use your own words to bury you. If you've made it this far, thank you for joining us in this journey through the moments where karma in golf made its presence felt. Which of these stories struck you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to keep enjoying the best stories, facts, and curiosities from the world of golf, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss anything. Click now on the video appearing on screen to discover the most epic and unexpected moments in golf history.